Howdy folks, it's Not Jay from Not Jay's Tabletop Gaming, and today we make it to the convention. So we've made sure our miniatures are painted, our terrain is well situated, we've got the scenario picked out, we have play tested everything. Everything is just as good as we can possibly get it. So now it's time to show up to the convention and play the game. First thing you want to do is you want to get to the convention early, especially if it's a convention you've never been to before. So make sure, I like to get there at least 2 hours before my game session is supposed to start. Does that mean that I'm showing up during another game session? Absolutely. But that gives me enough time to kind of see what's going on, get myself registered if I haven't already, by online registration. Stop at the registration desk if I have already registered and get my badge and all the other ancillary stuff that comes with being a game master, and go find my table. Probably, unless you're the very first session, probably someone's already on that table. And if they are, that's fine. When I do show up, I don't immediately start bringing my stuff in. I kind of scope things out first, make sure I know exactly where I'm supposed to be, exactly when I'm supposed to be there. And you normally have between 30 minutes and an hour in most situations between game sessions. That gives the game master running during the previous session enough time to get their stuff cleaned up and moved on, and for you to get your stuff set up. Now, during that setup process, lay out your terrain. It always helps if your terrain needs to be set up in a specific manner. In other words, you have to have your building set up in a certain way. You have to have your trees in a certain location. It's always handy with your last playtest to take a snapshot or quickly draw out a rudimentary map kind of showing where everything's supposed to lay out. So get everything laid out, then get the miniatures set up. If the players get to choose where their teams set up or their miniatures set up, then just kind of set them off to the side. Any player aids, set them with those miniatures. If the miniatures have a particular location in the terrain, in the setup, go ahead and get them placed as well. Get your dice and dice box set up, along with any measuring devices you're going to use. I like to have enough for both sides to have their own dice, their own measuring devices, and their own dice boxes. So it's not constantly being passed back and forth. Hey, can I have that? Etc. If I'm going to have more than 4 players, let's say I'm going to have 6 or 8, I make sure I've got probably double the number of measuring devices per side. So if I'm going to have, if I've got 2 sides, I've got 2 measuring devices per side. I've either got 2 rulers or 2 measure sticks or 2 measuring tapes per side. What that allows to do is if a player's actions will not affect a different player's actions, go ahead and let them do it. If they're moving into a different place and that's not going to affect what's going on with other players, go ahead and let them move simultaneously. It's not going to hurt anything. It helps move things along so you're not bogged down in extraneous, extra movement or, extra time taking for movement. Now, if there's going to be combat, either close combat or ranged combat, you want to, not allow that to happen. You want to go ahead and have them go one team at a time, as it were. I also like to have the rule book. If I have a physical copy, I like to have the rule book there, showing people what's being played. If you uh, really want to get presentation points, get up a little placard. You can pick up those little plastic standees for like $4 or $5 at Office Depot. It's about the size of a regular sheet of paper that you can print out, saying this game, this scenario presented by this person or club or whomever, and set it on the table so people can walk by and see, hey, this is Fistful of Lead Galactic Heroes, uh, Bounty Hunter's Delight. And they can go through and look into the convention's program and read the little blurb for it. So, present yourself, advertise. You're not going to get players to play your game if you're not advertising. Once you get set up, if you need to go, put stuff back in your car, go grab a drink or a quick snack, that's fine. But 10 to 15 minutes before the session starts, you want to be at your table, because that's when people are going to start gathering. And there's going to be people asking questions. What game is this? What are the rules? What's happening? How many players do you have? Do you have enough? You have an open seat, etc. So be there ready to answer questions. Again, you're going to be knowledgeable enough on the rules to be able to answer, basic questions. If they start getting too into the weeds about, well, how does this happen? Say, hey, if it interests you, jump on in. We got plenty of room, and we'll cover all of that, during the briefing in the game. Once it's time to start and, you've got a full table, even if it's a little early, if you've got a full table, if you've got 6 teams that 6 players can play and you've got 6 people at the table, if the session is supposed to start at 11:30 and it's 11:20 and your table's full, go ahead and start the briefing. Go through and talk about everything you need to talk about getting the game going. The one thing that you want to make sure that you do during the game, during the session, is make sure that all of the players are engaged as possible. That's why I said if one team's movement is not going to affect what another team is doing, allow them to go ahead and move. The worst thing you can do is have players sit there waiting for something to happen that their movement isn't going to affect, or the other player's movement is not going to affect them. Even if there's combat between 2 players and you've got a 3rd player and a 4th player that can move and not, interact with what's going on over there, by all means, allow them to go ahead and do that. Again, that does 2 things. That engages all the players, keeps them motivated to, keep playing the game. Doesn't allow them to get distracted. We all got these amazing, smart space phones, and they start getting bored. They start, they got to sit and wait for, the next player to go. They're gonna pull that phone out and start skimming through Facebook or messages or any number of social media or playing a Pong game or what have you. So you want to keep that reduced as a minimum. That's why when you do choose a set of rules, grab a set that's going to keep the gamers involved. That's what I like about Fistful of Lead. You don't. When you're going to go because of you've got. When you're going to go because of your cards, but you don't know when anybody else is going to go. So you got to keep an eye out on what's going on around you, so you can be prepared to, when your card gets called, that you're ready to activate. Also, Ambush Alley games, because of, even though it's kind of an I go, you go, it's I go activate a team, you go activate a team. That activation can then trigger, one of my teams to to do something. So again, there is player involvement, especially when you're dealing with multiple players in a game. You want to make sure that everybody is engaged. Be ready to make quick decisions. If you are unsure of a rule that comes up because it's something just you had no idea that they were going to come up and say, "Hey, I I want to do this obscure activation," and you're not exactly sure how it's supposed to work, do not spend more than a minute or two figuring it out. If you can't, find a rule that covers it real quick, say, "Hey guys, this is something that's pretty obscure. Let's do this for now, so we can keep the game rolling." If anybody, says, "Hey, wait, I don't think that's right," let's go ahead and just roll off. The person who wins the roll gets to, do what they want to do. We'll deal with it and find it out later. If that's not how it was supposed to work, I apologize. Again, this is just a kind of an off situation that I've never dealt with before. The more you deal with rules, the less likely that's going to happen. But if they're a brand new set of rules that you're excited about and you want other people to get excited about, that's going to happen. Make sure that you are not spending too much time looking through rules, because again, you're going to lose your audience. They're going to get bored. They're going to start looking through their space phones. So be decisive. That's the other thing that you want to do, is be decisive. Also, if you've got a player that thinks they know the rules better than you do, and they might, if they start wanting to take over, politely say, "Hey, this is the way I'm running the game. Thank you for your input. You're correct," or let's go ahead. Or if they're not correct, don't never say you're wrong. Say, "No, well, this is my understanding of how the rules play, and this is how I've designed the scenario. So let's go ahead and play it out this way." And if they get too touchy about it, you can firmly say, "Hey, it doesn't sound like they're having any fun with this. Maybe you just need to step away and, go find a different, find something else that's going to be more enjoyable to you." I've personally never had to do that. And I'm not saying that I'm, some great grandiose GM that keeps everybody happy and everything's going smoothly. I've just never had that happen. I have had it. I have seen it happen in other locations. Normally, at least for me, when I run into a game that is like that for me, where I'm not having fun or I don't like how the GM is running the game, I'll excuse myself. I will say, "Hey, thank you for the opportunity of playing the game. It just doesn't seem like a right fit for me. I'm going to go ahead and, if it's not too much trouble, I'm going to go ahead and just, bail out right now." Normally, that's within the first 10 or 15 minutes of the briefing. And that's why you do want to have the briefing, keep it short, and really get into the game as quickly as possible so players don't get bored with it. There have been times when I have sat down to a game, kind of excited about what is going to be played, and the briefing of how the game is played has taken 30 minutes, and they still weren't finished. It was like, I stood up and said, "Thank you for the opportunity. I just don't think that this game is right for me in this, in a convention setting. I'm going to go. Thank you again. Have a great day." So, not only do you need to be a good GM, but if you end up playing at a convention, you need to, be considerate of the GM also. The GM is, in most cases, there donating their time, volunteering their services to run a game for the convention. They might have gotten a bit of a break on the pricing for the ticket to get in, but in many cases there is no other compensation whatsoever. They've had to travel there themselves. They've had to put themselves up in a hotel. They're not getting anything out of. They're not getting any monetary gain out of them running a game for the convention, and ultimately for you. So also remember that when you are a participant. But as a GM, understand that you are volunteering your time, and hopefully the convention is a good enough run convention that you at least get a little bit of a thank you. Hey, thanks for coming and running a game for us, and that's the important thing, is that you get out there, you present the game, you get people excited about it, and hopefully that drives other people to want to play the game and make it more successful. So the next time you come out, even more people want to play it, and it grows. So really, that's it about running a convention game. Again, you start off by figuring out what rules you want to play. You want to figure out your miniatures, your scenery and scenario. You want to be sure that you do plenty of play testing, so as best as you can the rules to the game, any specialties, anything special that's going on for your particular scenario. And then when it's time to run the game, be firm, be fair, be concise, and be decisive. So that's it. If anybody's got any questions about how I go about running or how I would go about running a game in particular, scenario help, or choosing miniatures, or what I would do for scenery, by all means, let me know. Drop me a message here. I will reach out to you, or head over to Facebook. In the Facebook group, say, hey, I got some questions, and we can work it out. We can talk it over. I'll be more than happy to work with you. And if I don't have a good answer for you, I got plenty of resources that I can call on to get something figured out. So I hope this series has given some people the idea that anybody can run a convention game, because anybody can run a convention game. You just got to be prepared. And I hope that I'm at the conventions that you decide to run these games on. And if I'm not running a game, I'll come sit at your table. I don't go to conventions to play games, but I like to play games every once in a while as well as run them. So yeah. Let me know if you've ever run a convention down below, run a game at a convention down below, or if you have been inspired to think about running a convention game because of this series. Let me know. I'd love to hear it. Not quite sure what my next video is going to be coming up on Monday. I might paint a ship like I've done previously. I'm learning the U.S. Civil War right now, so I may be doing some more game turn recaps. Those seem to have gone pretty well with Salerno 43, so we'll see what happens with the U.S. Civil War. And next week, I know we didn't have a show this week, but it was coming up on Thanksgiving, and the wife and I had some baking and cooking that needed to be done for Thursday. So I do apologize for that, but we will be having a show next week, and it looks like we're going to have a guest. So I won't say anything until we've got that firmed up, Keep a lookout on the Facebook groups where I post normally. And until next time, we'll see you on the flip side.